Welcome to So Guided, a spiritual travel guide for the curious. Join Carissa and Jenny, ordinary people exploring all the extraordinary ways we can connect to the universe. Each week, they investigate another spiritual modality and adventure through all the wild ways we can find high vibes, hope, and ultimately, enlightenment.
Hello and welcome to another episode of So Guided. Today we are diving into spirit guides. This is one of our very first recordings where we're trying to figure out and understand what spirit guides are and how they come to us. You've got questions, so do we. Let's do this.
Hello everyone, we are so excited. We are about to have one of our favorite subjects discussed, spirit guides. What are spirit guides? There are so many categories. Let's talk about what we're seeing when we look it up. What are spirit guides? Who are they? And how do we connect to them? So hop along. We are going to dig into what our spirit guides are. So Carissa, what's the list you found? Let's get into it.
Let's do this. Let's start with our first one, archangels. So archangels, they're the divine energy that are over everything in the universe. So there's multiple archangels. You probably have heard about these across multiple religions. So when you hear archangels, don't think of this as like a religious set. It's not. It's like these are spiritual beings that are at the upper echelon of evolution, I would say. Yeah. These are masters who have been around since the beginning of everything. And what's neat about archangels is that they have enough energy to help multiple people at the same time. So it's not like one archangel is assigned to you. It's really an archangel is across everybody and you can call on them for different needs. So again, this is something that really, honestly, I didn't even know if it was archangel or archangel.
We forgot to Google it.
Yeah, we forgot to Google it.
So we are going to run with archangels today. And someone can correct us, and I'm sure they will. What I love about archangels from what I've learned, this is brand new to me as of a year ago, even asking about them, learning, knowing. So let's be clear here. We did not grow up knowing anything about this, so this is new. But the archangels, what I love is they each have things that they specialize in. Yeah. So I actually recommend Googling archangels because it'll say categorically for health and wellness. And there's one that has always spoken to me for my job, which is Archangel Jophiel. The minute I read her name and purpose, it spoke to me. So I'll actually say, hey, you come to my work today. It's a creative, inspirational angel. Anywho, there you go, look into it, and something's going to speak to you and or use them when you need them.
Right.
And I find with them, they're just a quick little prayer please be with me or help me through this moment.
Well, it's interesting too because I feel like archangels have come to a lot of people during meditation and people kind of feel a certain energy. There's Archangel Raphael, which is a really popular one because he's around for healing. Yes. So, if you need healing, and one that I particularly have been drawn to, again, only for a year, this is new to us, is Archangel Gabriel, which is a very, it's funny. There's, I guess, in the archangel world, there's a lot of negotiation, whether it's a male or female, and it's That's Gabriel or Gabriel. So it's funny, but again, however people you perceive it is kind of right to you because their energy is fluid. Yes. And she, to me, because the girl, is the archangel for mothers. When you need help spiritually, she watches over mothers, babies, and she's a very they're all very powerful. But it's just again, whoever you're kind of needing at the time. I feel like those are archangels. So, as you look at archangels, the next spirit guide on the list is your guardian angel. So now guardian angels are very specific to your individual. So everybody has their own individual guardian angel. And this is somebody that, you have. The way it was described to me, and my favorite way it was described is by Kyle Gray, who is he is somebody that has talked to angels, and he's really well known in the world of angels. And he describes the guardian angel as somebody that you made a soul contract with before you started any of your lives. And this is somebody that loves you unconditionally and is with you across every iteration of your soul. And it basically is there to help you in any way, but it's also there to let you be. So if you don't ask for help, it's just it's always with you and it loves you unconditionally, but you need to ask for it to enter and to help and let your guardian angel know that you want their guidance or their help.
They need to be invited.
Yeah, exactly.
So they don't impose their will on us, and they're always with us whether we ask for them or not, but they will not come be present or show themselves unless you ask.
Exactly.
And so you need to, and they're waiting for you. One thing I love whenever I look into the guardian angels is they will never tell you would, should, there's no judgment. It's truly love. And Kyle, and we're going to probably talk about him a lot because he's the angel master.
Yeah,
and you have to follow his Instagram, most darling angel guru.
It's amazing, yeah.
He has so much to speak of on that. And in fact, you got angel cards because of him, his angel membership.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm so into him.
But what I love about the angels is they just said, like, when they think of you or with you, they think, yeah, you, beautiful you. And they see just this beautiful light. They don't see if you weigh 100 pounds or 300, if you're successful in your career or you're not. They just love you. And I think there's something so beautiful about that. And again, this is a new concept for me too, as of a year, just exploring this. And whenever I think about it, there's such a certain peace that comes with thinking about a guardian angel. They're your soulmate. From the spiritual world, if you will.
Exactly.
Right? They're waiting for you to connect, which I think is pretty cool.
I do love how you reminded us that they look at us through that lens of love.
Yes.
And they're so excited. Like if you could think of like someone you can't even see being like, oh my God, they're like, there they are. They're so beautiful. And they see you as the most beautiful being. And like, you know, you have free will. So they're not there to push you or make you do anything. They're there to support you in all that you do. Yes. And love you unconditionally and be there for you. So one of the things I like is as you start feeling or being more aware of your spirit guides is to thank or talk to your guardian angel. And again, remembering to invite them in if you do want them more present.
Yes, just ask.
Just ask, exactly.
That's the coolest part. It's not this like you don't need to sit down and meditate and put yourself in a crystal circle or burn sage. Literally, you could be driving in the car and say, Angel,
oh my gosh,
I need you now. And actually, something that's interesting, and I don't always do this, is they speak in present tense. So instead of asking for things in the future, you say, thank you for being here now, is a better way to speak to them. I forget this all the time, but I've read this multiple times.
It's funny you say that.
They're present tense.
It's 100%. And anytime you feel like your angel is there or you feel like you're getting a sign, say, thank you, angel, for reminding me of your presence. Like, thank you for being here. And it's 100% like, it's true. It's they're there and they're doing it. And it's, you know what's funny is I feel like most people have heard of guardian angels, and a lot of people allude guardian angels to protecting you, like when you get hurt, and like that's true. I actually very recently I was almost in a car accident, and I like closed my eyes, was about to like literally hit into a car, closed my eyes, and like wasn't in an accident, and I'm 100% sure. The second I said, like, oh my God, thank you, angels. Like I knew I had been protected. Yes. Like I knew it was my guardian angel there. Like it wasn't the time for me to get an accident, thank God, and I was okay. And there wasn't an accident. But that's not all they're there for. Like that's where I feel like sometimes like we just rely on them.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Like I think guardian angels like, oh my God, like just protect me when I'm in a bad thing or don't let anything happen or whatever. You know, and of course I'm always praying to like my children's guardian angels to keep them safe. But it's beyond that. It's also just to have them, their present, their loving presence is helpful and available to you no matter what time of day or even when you're in a good place. Right. It's just to add to it in that essence of gratitude. So
this is so true. And I think this is something that is new to us in this process is I thought that way of guardian angels. Okay, I'm not religious, but I do believe this idea of guardian angels. Prayed to them in accident situations or darkness. Yes. But how about everyday life? And what I love to discover is you genuinely, it could be as light as you want it. Like, help me pick out my cute outfit today. And as silly as that is, it's small or big, they're literally there with us.
Yes.
I think this is so fun. I use it, and I think people would more than I'd ever thought for work. Or even as an example, before we start today or anytime we start a podcast, I ask them to join.
Yep.
So it could be very small.
Yep.
It could be very small. It could be when you wake up, join me for a beautiful day today.
Yep.
And I do that too. So it's small and big. I think that's a really important note. Do not just wait to ask for them in a moment of darkness, scary. Yes. Every day. Just
every
try.
day.
And they're waiting.
I think the more we connect to them, and we'll talk about ways to do that, but the more we connect to them, the more they show us they're here in fun ways. Like, we know we've talked about angel numbers and saying 1111 and different signs, but like, I feel like I get those all the time, and it brings such a smile. Like, oh, there it is. There's another like repeating number. Like my angels are here, and it's cooking dinner when it's nothing exciting going on, but it brings a smile on my face, and it reminds me of their presence, and it's so true. It's like they're there all the time, so let's access them.
I love it.
So I personally believe that different people have different spirit guides that are more present in their life.
Yes.
So you may connect to some of the that some of the options on our list more so than others. Some people may have all of these that they like act like that they resonate with, and some people may have like, whoa, like I'm really connected to just my guardian angel, to the archangels. But whatever you feel is good.
What you're feeling is right. Because you're connecting to something. And I think we as people, you and me, and also we as human beings need to categorize things. We were just talking about it. What the heck ever.
Right.
So here's something I've done, because even going through this list with you, I'm confused on definitions and categories. So I now loosely say team of light. I've read this repeatedly from different authors in all my crazy woo-woo books. And not crazy woo-woo books. Yeah. Happy woo-woo books. But I hear repeatedly to just ask for your team of light. And that means anyone from this list who feels called forward to be your person in this question. So now instead of referencing anyone, and I think this might help people too, because even as we investigate, and we are literally now becoming connoisseurs of guys.
Yeah, we're trying.
Is that I say team of light, so I don't exclude anyone.
Yeah.
I'm including anyone who would like to show up for me.
Right.
And if you'd like to, say team of light. There's
so
many cool things we don't even know about that are probably not on this list. So if you want to blanket it, I don't think it's any less potent to ask for. So say team of light.
Exactly. No, I love that.
Okay.
Well, and then to play the other side of that, the next one on the list is actually departed loved ones. So you can all think about somebody who has passed away and like who now has become a guide for us. And some people may not have someone who's close who passed away, and maybe again that doesn't resonate. Right. But for me personally, my grandma is someone who I know is one of my guides. And there are times when that's who I want to talk to. And I do say like grandma, and there are also times when I 100% know my grandma is with me versus an angel. And, she's come to me in dreams, and I know it's been her, so there are definitely kind of the flip of that if someone is called to you or you need a specific guy in a situation, do that. And especially for departed loved ones, because you can connect with a departed loved one anytime if you're called to.
There's something that's deeply personal that you have that connection that allows someone even who's new to this thought process. I think we could all relate to connecting to a departed loved one.
Yeah.
And I think there's different ways, just like the angels we were talking about, how in just grief that we ask for them. Likewise, your departed loved one doesn't need to come only in your grief or only in a dark moment. Ask for them to join you on a play date with your child at the playground and say, come be with us now. So I think it could be light in every day. And I think that's maybe one of the coolest things that maybe we could leave with someone today, is that it doesn't need to be heavy and dark grief or whatever.
Yes.
And likewise with the departed loved one. This is a subject that is so vast, and I think so many people who start this journey of questioning probably start from grief and wanting to connect with a loved one. So I think this is something that we will address.
When they miss a loved one.
But keeping it on our higher level of what we're talking about today, they're on your team.
Yes.
And what I love about us is this is really interesting. I'm not connected to a departed loved one, and you are. Right. And this is just such a good point of who you're going to be drawn to or otherwise. Like this is one of the biggest ones that hits your heart.
Yeah.
And I would venture to say a lot of people listening, this is going to hit their heart. And it might be the easiest one to accept.
Exactly.
Yes, someone's watching over me, my grandma, my grandpa, my father, my mother, my sister, whomever.
And you may be more open to signs from them. Because you know, like, oh, my grandma would always love cardinals. Now I'm seeing a cardinal, so it must be from her. So, and I think, too, as a spirit guide for someone who's passed away, like, anyone who's passed away can then be a guide for you. And sometimes like, people just want like a visit from their loved one, and they are grieving. But like we call them the guide because now they are on the other side, and they see what we can't see with our eyes. And they know that there is love. They have this now proof, if you will, because they're there that there is more. So we talk about archangels. You don't have to be this beyond energy to be a guide. So like sometimes, you wonder, can, oh, my grandma wasn't, or someone so didn't even believe this. How could they be a guide? But they still can.
Right.
So you can still look at them as a guide for you. And then, moving on to our next subject, which I think is, interesting too, is, we talk about departed loved ones as people. Spirit animals is the next kind of guide that you can have. And that can often be a departed pet. So, that's something that, I feel like people don't give enough, not credit, but I feel like people, when they lose a pet, is just like losing a family member. It's very sad. So those pets can still, exactly. It's true. And so pets can be a spirit guide. And then also any animal that you are connected to, or you see repeating, or, you know, you see in dreams. Like there are a lot of dreams where an animal can come to you, and like that can be a spirit animal that has meaning and is like sharing a message. So, you know, again, we don't always think of animals as being something that can guide you or be there, but they can, because we're all one. We're all part of nature. We're all, you know, part of this.
So just to not even spirit animals, but to spirit animals. First of all, animals are so innocent and pure. Yes. It makes sense that they're tapped into something that they could physically be on our plane and witness it. Yes. And on a funny, like, off subject, have you ever seen your animal, like your dog or your cat, like kookily, like look at something that's not there?
Yes.
And they're so in tune. They're picking up on your energy. That's like an animal knows when you're sad. So it makes sense that animals are spirit, whether they're here or otherworldly. That's for sure. I actually have asked Millie if she's Cooper.
My really?
I said, do you know Cooper? Are you Cooper?
Yeah.
But I wonder if they find you again, if there's something different with animals. I really don't know any of these answers. I've never read to it. But I've wondered, like, can your animals be like a guardian angel where your animal spirit finds you again and again? I'd like to believe so, because I love my animals so much.
I know. Spirit animals, you're old, like an animal who has passed and obviously is still connected to you. And then again, the animals that you're drawn to. Like my daughter is so drawn to owls, and like she says flat out, since she was 2, she said, "Oh, owls are my spirit animal." And so sometimes you just know, you know, like that. And like my husband now has a tattoo of an owl in like reference to my daughter because it's her spirit animal and she knows it. So I feel like there's also that. And then you see owls when you're on the right path your whole life. Like there's just, I feel like that is another way for guides for animals.
A spirit animal too. I guess this is a more fun subject than we even realized.
I know. I know we're gonna say
I could go like a million directions with this, but I think that's a fun sign one because animals are what a way to reveal the other side to you, that you're just supported. Whoever that guy is.
I know. Okay, so I'm gonna have to add one little thing. Yeah. Just because when you were talking, it reminded me. I've told this story before about the deer being a spirit animal for me. And how this started is, again, before I even went on this journey, which, you know, our little soul journey is new.
It's,
you know,
infancy.
We're in its infancy, so we're still learning a lot of this. But even prior to that, I've always been interested in psychics. I went to a psychic, and she had said one of the ways my grandma communicates is through deer. And so I think that guides can also work together to send you messages. So once I knew that, I've always been on the lookout for deer. And I think I told you when my son was born, I came home and there was a baby deer laying in the field, which I've never seen. You know, never seen a baby deer laying anywhere. And it was like when I just brought home my baby, it was unbelievable. And then my grandma and the psychic kind of telling me about deer made me realize that deer were something that is a spirit animal for us.
And you weren't crazy.
Right.
It's the coolest thing when it's validated.
Right. It was validated. And so again, like I now know that's one of my spirit animals. It's something that comes to me and it's like around every time I see when I smile, and I feel like it's a sign and it's meant to be. And I think our guides work together too to make sure like we get the message.
Yes.
You know, especially for open for and needing it. Like they have like this like our team of light works together as a team.
Yeah,
so,
I love that. I think that like that's something I don't think I've ever said to you before. Will you use team of light after
I love it. I'm into it.
It lets you say everyone.
And so now I'm like, and I actually love that you're saying team of light, because I honestly think like my grandma's working with spirit animals to help. And like my guardian angel is probably like, hey, like my grandma's name's like Liza, can you get an animal out to like go do something? I definitely like they're all working together. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So moving on from spirit animals, the next one, and I think this is the last one on our list for today, is ascended masters. I've heard this word a lot. I actually didn't even know what it meant.
What does it mean?
Yeah, like ascended masters. And I think my original thought was wrong of what I thought. I guess I didn't even really know what it was. But upon further research, apparently what ascended masters are is like Buddha or the Mother Mary or Jesus. It's very, I want to say spiritual beings. And again, cross religion. You don't have to be a certain religion to necessarily believe in ascended masters. However, people within certain religions definitely are more drawn to the ascended master that is associated with that religion, I will say. I mean, these ascended masters are people who, while on earth, were
already
helping.
embodying.
Exactly. So, again, that's not one that I resonate. Like people who have saints that they look at as their guides. Again, it's across the board. Do you resonate with that one?
Yes and no. I resonate with my self-made definition before we looked it up. It's really funny because we talked about this list before we started chit-chatting and hitting the record button. I'm realizing now that there's a hole in the list for me. And so I'm wondering if Ascended Masters can be more expansive than the definition we found. So for me, Ascended Masters sounded like just higher light beings that had knowledge to share. And it didn't have to be physical body on earth in order to do it. And I have to say, maybe they could be both. And I almost needed to be, because something that I experience in a guide form that I'm finding a hole on the list, so maybe it falls in Ascended Masters, is I get guidance that's not angelic, that's knowledge-based all the time. And I need to categorize it, even though I said we shouldn't.
Right.
So I'm wondering if Ascended Masters can be expansive. Can it be what it sounds like, which is just higher intelligent light beings that have the keepers of the Akashic records or whatever? I need something else on this list. And we both looked up this list separately and came together, and this is what was kind of out there in the world. So I don't know if it falls in Ascended Masters or if I have another one to say that is like higher being knowledge guides.
And I guess I look at this list too, and I'm like, I think Ascended Masters, archangels are available for everybody. They're kind of like the same group who have such high energy, and like they're omnipotent, I guess, like everywhere, that they can, multiple people can access them at any time. I feel like your loved ones are going to be more specific to you. Your guardian angel is exactly specific to you. Your spirit animal, again, I do think that these ascended beings, these archangels especially, are so ever present and available that like if you want to get into archangels and have their help or their guidance, then just you can.
But let's talk about
the ways. Yeah. So how do we do it?
Okay, so we kind of have a list of tools to share.
Yeah.
But I'd say there's kind of a mode to get in first. Our ways to connect is to be present, be in a moment, and find quiet. Whatever that means to you. If we're listening, if we're quiet, if we're present, we are aware.
Right.
And they can't come through if we're in busy mind work mode. So that's why some of the ideas on the list for actual tools will be things that let your mind be at peace. But you need to have a quiet. You need to be present.
So do you want to talk about like some of the tactics of how to do it?
Yeah. Before I tell you that, one of the things we were debating a little bit is I think you need to be in kind of a high vibe mode to connect. So from a lot of research and what I innately feel to be true, our angels and guides are just on a different frequency. That's just, they are something else. Their radio frequency is different than 104.1. You need to tune in to 99.9 in order to be with them. So Carissa was saying pre-talking that she felt like, well, what about when you're sad or in grief and you're low vibe and you need help? And I was saying to her, you absolutely can ask for their help from any place. In fact, they might even hear it louder because they know you and they know you need help. But I think in order to listen and receive the guidance, you need to find a high vibe energy. And it's very, very simple. And this is an example. Let's say you are in a position where you've lost your job and you can't pay your bills and you could lose your house. It feels like the world's crumbling around you. And you'd say to me, how do I get in high vibe? Screw you. This is terrible. There's always something to be grateful for. And the best way, an easy way to find high vibe is to practice gratitude. Grab onto some things. My sweet little doggy at my feet. Yeah. I am grateful for him. The light coming in the window that woke me up this morning, I'm grateful for that.
Right.
It could be so small. And just say 5 things you're grateful for, and you've raised your energy just enough to maybe listen.
Well, and I think the most important part of this is high vibes does not mean happy vibes.
Thank you. Yes.
Sometimes you hear high vibes, and high vibes is like, oh, I'm so giddy. Well, you know what? You know, a year ago when I was in the darkest place of my life, I was not giddy. There was no happy vibes, but there was a quietness that I could get to. There was like, and again, even with gratitude, I wasn't feeling happy, but I knew like if I could just quiet and focus in prayer or focus in, again, just talking internally or asking for help, like I could hear message or feel supported. And so I think that the high vibes is different than happy vibes. It's more of a place of gratitude or clarity. I think when you said the clarity of just like quieting the dark things allow us to get to a higher vibe.
I like
It really quieting the ego, which is just your mind, you know? Like, I'm reading a book, it's called The Knowing right now. And one of the things they're talking about, and like they of course they talk about meditation and how important it is, but one of the things that they say to meditate to is, I am not my body, I am not even my mind. And so if you can, again, repeat something like that, where it's like, you're your soul, you're not your body, you're not your mind, it gets you to a different place. And again, if you're in that space of like that in between of not your body, not your mind, but this other soul, what you truly are, that allows in messages. And
that is such a sweet spot. If you don't know the sweet spot that Carissa just said, find it. Find it. It is like effing magic. And quite frankly, addictive to be in. Once you find it, you want to find it again. But it is, when I had the stressful, like, who am I experience was what I was going through. There were so many times it was so physical, like that my stomach hurt and I was scared. I lived a lot in fear. And one thing I love, when you find that sweet spot, you rise above it and realize that one of our favorite quotes, which is, I'm a spirit having a human experience. And I'm here to get closer to love. I love this quote because it takes me out of my body and makes me remember I'm something so much more than this dark moment. And I'm going to get through it.
And again, I think another way to raise your vibe is just to acknowledge the feeling that you're having. So if you're like, okay, I see you, sadness, I acknowledge you. Like, you can stay here for a cup of tea, but you can't stay here all day. It's like one of those things. Like, and that again, that acknowledgement of your emotion, because we are human, we are meant to have these different feelings. We are not meant to constantly be happy. We are meant to feel these feelings in all capacity. And so, like, our angels aren't judging us, or our guides aren't judging us because we're having a bad day, or, you know, they're also not judging us for having a good day. You know, they're there for regardless. So it's like, if we can, you know, just acknowledge the space that we're in, that'll help with the clarity and therefore allow us to be open to hear these messages.
I love it. All right, let's talk about very specific tools.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, oracle cards. These are fun. They could be light. You might know oracle cards as a tarot card, but there's a billion other forms. Carissa got into angel cards, ordered those through Kyle Greg, and they're all angels. Tarot cards are potent for people because some people are scared or they feel too voodoo-y. But oracle cards are a very simple form that, if you find the sweet spot of letting yourself be at peace and quiet, your guides have a really solid, tangible way to communicate with you.
And it doesn't matter what the deck is. Honestly.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if you want a universe deck, if you want a... It doesn't... There's literally nothing. It's just another way, if you're connected, to shuffle, ask for a message, and get one.
And a really important thing is, I thought before all of this investigation that this was only available to psychics to touch an oracle card. And I've loved to learn that it's not. And we both use the Gabby Bernstein Universe Has Your Back deck of cards, which is all really happy, inspirational messages. And we do it with our kids before they go to school. Our kids aren't psychic. We're not psychic. Well, I am a little bit. But they draw them, and that's their little spirit guide message for the day. So you don't need to be psychic. Oracle cards. So they're fun. Go on Amazon. Another really tangible fun one, as you know, I went to a class recently, locally. So a pendulum, also thought this is a psychic tool, not the average Joe. It turns out it's one of the most average Joe things that you could grab. It's an intro to everything, and never heard it. It's like literally just something that you hold in your hand that has weight at the end that can move. You could make it with a paper clip and a string, but in this instance, it's a beautiful crystal hanging from a single chain, and your guide. So the idea with the pendulum isn't like a haunted tool that's telling you things. You're holding it in a form in your hand where you can't manipulate it yourself. And your guide has a really easy way to say yes or no. You figure out what your yes and your no is. Does it swing around? Does it go back and forth? And very, very simple. So fun.
Well, and I think what, like, a couple, like, these ideas too are really just getting closer, like, to spiritual practices. Like, there are things, like, an overarching theme is that you need to get closer and open yourself up. And, like, you can do that through oracle cards. You can do that through tools, especially if you're a beginner like we are.
I love that. I like that you're saying, I think this list is really helpful when you can't decipher the guides and their ways in. I will speak last to my experience meditating and how I connect to guides, because I would say that I'm happy to report that I'm pretty much a humble person, but one thing I have been able to do on our journey is connect through meditation.
100%.
But I'm prayer. Prayer is something that we're naturally drawn to, and that is it. And within prayer might be almost a subcategory, but you could just literally do it anytime. It's just ask for guidance.
Yep.
And they are listening. And then be ready to receive. Be quiet and be ready. Be present. Be listening. Just say, you know what? I'm having a tough time with this friend and it's breaking my heart right now. I need your guidance.
Yeah,
today.
And surrender the situation.
Surrender.
Surrender the situation to your guides and just see what happens. And then be open.
And be
open to what you receive back. And it could be, because you're like, when you ask for this guidance, like, then how does it come to you?
Very good point.
Is like, okay, again, like that's where I'm kind of like, okay, I asked for something. So is it within signs? Is it, in these signs which we talked about? Like those are always
signs,
your guides.
Ask for a sign. To follow up one of the ones we said, if you needed something specific, that's when you could pull out a very black or white yes or no pendulum and say, I got these signs today. Is this what your message was?
I love that.
So that's fun. Signs, journaling is a huge one, which we have a love-hate with. What's really funny is my whole life I journaled, not to connect to anything. I just journaled and I loved it and it was a part of me. And somewhere along my adulthood, I dropped it. And now we keep reading over and over to journal. And we both have a hard time journaling. However, that being said, the rare times I've been prompted in meditation and did actually do it, most times, guys, I hear that I'm supposed to do it and I say, I'm not doing that right now. When I do, crazy stuff happens. But when you get an automatic writing, and that's journaling, they have the ability to actually start talking through you.
Yep.
And when you find that happening, your writing might even change. Yep. And when you go back and read it, it doesn't even sound like your words or your content, the nature of how you speak is different.
They start
so
writing
journaling
through you.
is one.
Well, I say too, for journaling, one of the things I've done a lot more is I haven't had that automatic writing like you've had, because you have had after meditating where it just comes through. But what I've done is written letters. Like I've written letters to my grandma who has passed away. Like I've written and with it, it's just like this whole spew of thing. It's very therapeutic and healing in a way. But it allows me to connect closer to her. And therefore I feel like her messages come through. Right. Because she's on my mind. I'm in that higher vibe. Yes. And like, I've been like, me and you love to burn a good letter, to burn a good journaling. So if you burn it again, and like I do, especially like the writings of, again, when I make myself do it like under a full moon or under a new moon, because I feel like, again, it's it's helping my spiritual practice grow.
What I love about what you just said that I'm reading in a book right now is the woman calls it DIY spiritual rituals. And basically, whatever you're called to do, you never read anywhere to do this. This is something you instinctually felt called to do. What we've learned along this way is if you're instinctually called to do something, do it.
Love that.
Whatever had called you to it, like just follow it.
Right.
Don't ask questions. Like if you feel called to burn a letter under a full moon, well, good for you.
Right.
Something's happening.
Right.
I think it's pretty
When you say it like that, I'm like, wow, that's really, it's weird that I'm doing it. Powerful, but also.
You should. I will share on journaling, I've had a weird experience. And when I first started meditating, one of my ones called me to journal and I did it. And I really did not think anything was coming through. Having journaled my whole life, I know it's just me talking about the boy I like who's not treating me right, or my friendship group. Yeah. So I was prompted to write certain things, and I read it to you at the time. My writing changed. Oh, yeah. It was as if this otherworldly experience was like, finally, you asked us a question. And this was in the very early days of this. So I wasn't meditating every day like I am now, and la la la. And it literally said, "Dear Jenny."
Yes, and see, that's what I'm talking about. The tone changes.
And it was bizarre.
It's outside of your words.
And that's not my words.
And those are messages you can get. Again, you get it from writing, but you can get that in your head too when something doesn't sound like your voice. I've gotten a message before I told you to stay soft. Like, that's not something I would ever say or think. And like, it was in a different voice. And like, so again, if you're open to that, like, they come in and they can take over. It's amazing.
I highly encourage journaling. This is our pot calling the kettle black.
Do as we say, not as we do.
Yes. I wish I would do it more.
Yeah.
A really simple one is peaceful favorite activities: running, gardening, singing, dancing, walking, doodling, art. Something that brings you in a peaceful spot. Again, to be able to receive. That's a simple one. This one's one of my favorites is ask their name or give them a name.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, make them more real. Acknowledge.
Yeah, say, do you have a name? And then be open all day to a name that repeats itself or resonates with you. I actually thought that this was so sweet. I love give it a name because instead of it saying, again, making them give you this sign, just name a favorite name. I've always loved the name Clara. I should name my angel Clara.
Is that really what you're... I almost named my child Clara.
Oh my gosh, that's really weird.
That is I did not know that. That's literally one of my favorite names. Fiona was almost like Clara.
I love Clara.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's really one of my favorite names.
So, there you go. So that one of us maybe, or both of us have a Clara. Maybe our podcast angel's Clara.
Yeah, our podcast. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. You guys have just witnessed us naming our podcast angel Clara. Yes, okay. Thank you, Clara.
Thank you for listening. We've loved being your spiritual travel guides and hope this made you feel more connected. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player. Your reviews help us create the guide that you are looking for. We'd also love to hear your stories.
You can follow and share your experiences with us on Instagram at So Guided Podcast. Your story might just be our next weekly woo-woo. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the universe. And remember, stay curious, ask the questions. You are so guided.